You're not done yet. In case you've forgotten, you have your own reasons for coming.
A parent's influence on their kids is a big factor to how they turn out down the line. You can trace a person's worst and best traits down to how they were raised and the environments they lived through. We have many real-world examples of horrible parents having bad impact on their kids, but let's look at some dads in anime that were better off not around. Hey there folks, welcome back to the channel, and today we're gonna look at the top 10 worst fathers in anime and just how messed up their influence was on their kids. Now be warned, we're going to touch on a few instances of abuse and neglect, so if any of those topics are sensitive for you, now's your chance to click off and watch our more lighthearted videos. If you're still here, well then, strap in and get ready for us to dive right in. Number 10. Gendo Ikari, Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Shut down all of Unit 1's synchronization circuits immediately!
Shut them down?
Gendo Ikari is a manipulative, vindictive, and distant father who's already been memed to death for his horrible parenting skills that would make fans shiver. His story could be a bit sad if you look at it from an understanding lens. He pushes his son away after losing his wife due to grief and depression. This sad fate of his causes him to go down a dangerous path that only brings suffering to those around him. That's honestly sad, and anyone who has gone through any sort of familiar pain would relate. But that does not justify all the horrible things he put Shinji through afterwards. He acts like Shinji is just another pilot that he sends out and doesn't treat him like a son. This leaves Shinji chasing after his father's goals and dreams in hope of eventually getting his love. While Gendo is definitely a good example of a bad father, he's nowhere near as horrible as the rest of the dads on this list. Still, he's a good point to start this list off on.
Punishment upon myself. Not meeting my child. Not being there for him.
Number 9. Endeavor, Enji Todoroki, My Hero Academia. Imagine being so obsessed with someone that you marry and have children for the sole purpose of birthing an offspring that can surpass that person. That's the story of Endeavor and his strained relationship with Todoroki and the rest of his family. Endeavor is a classic, abusive, and manipulative dad who, more or less, sees his children as potential tools than anything else. He married his wife only for her quirk and abused her psychologically to the point of insanity till she had what he considered the perfect child, Shoto. He then proceeded to physically and mentally abuse the poor kid in hopes of training him to be the perfect successor to his legacy and to surpass All Might. All parents want their children to reach their fullest potential, but Endeavor's methods are sick and twisted. Number 8. Ging Freecss, Hunter x Hunter. Ging Freecss is a horrible, selfish person. He's arrogant, neglectful, and quite frankly, one of the reasons Gon turned out as somewhat put together as he did is probably because he wasn't there. He left vague hints that would potentially guide Gon to meet him someday, but leaving breadcrumbs to a treasure doesn't make up for 12 years of abandonment for your own pursuit of adventure. Even at the end, when they finally meet, he still puts Gon through a deadly trial to climb a tall tower that he could easily die from, just to get a chance to talk to Ging. The tests Ging set up for Gon, no matter how aware of his potential he was, were horribly implemented, and regardless of his intention, a father should be as physically there as possible for their child, and Ging just wasn't there for Gon. No matter how much you want to argue that he was watching over Gon, it doesn't change the truth that Ging is an awful father. Number 7. Gakuho Asano, Assassination Classroom. I'm sorry. Gakuho only cares about one thing, and that's the progression of his ideal educational system where the smart are prioritized and the weak fall into obscurity. He cares about nothing and no one else, and that includes his own son. He doesn't give his son any hate or grief, unlike some parents on this list, but he doesn't give him any love either. In fact, he treats him just like any other student, with no particular note of affection, whether that be inside the school or outside. Even Gakushu, his son, states that other when it comes to academic work and school issues, he barely ever interacts with his father. That's almost as bad, if not worse, than situations where the father leaves completely. Imagine having your paternal figure right there, in the same house as you, where you see him every day. You go with him to school and back every day, you eat with him every day, but he never speaks to you even once. That sounds like mental torture to go through.
ただ見てた。発狂死するだろうと。そして3日目。
Number 6. Yujiro Hanma, Baki.
Much needed punishment.
Yujiro Hanma is a strong, arrogant beast of a man, seen as the strongest in the world and aptly named the Ogre due to his brutish physical abilities and his tendency to never show mercy to anyone he deems as below him. That includes his own son, Baki. Yujiro only speaks one language, and them's fighting words. He's the kind of person that's simply incapable of having a functional, normal relationship with someone that doesn't involve comparisons of strength. This left Baki emotionally yearning for a connection with his father through any means necessary. This eventually leads to a building-leveling fight between father and son in Baki's bid to get his father's recognition. Regardless of how their relationship improved afterwards, I'm a strong believer in the fact that if you have to get your face smashed through several concrete walls for your father's recognition, then your dad probably isn't the best person to be around. That's a controversial opinion, I know.
The son's fists felt his father. The father's fists felt his son.
Number 5. Rasa, Naruto. I have words for Rasa that I can't use due to YouTube's sensitive terms of service, but he's objectively an absolute pile of trash and a horrible father. He takes a page from the book of every terrible father on this list and somehow goes above and beyond with his sick motivations. His main goal of producing offspring is just to have a Jinchuriki. If you're unfamiliar with the Naruto series, a Jinchuriki is a vessel for powerful tailed beasts and world-ending levels of power. A Jinchuriki is usually the subject of contempt and hatred from people around him, and Rasa is well aware of this fact and still had a child with the sole purpose of condemning them to that horrible fate. On top of that, he made multiple assassination attempts on the poor kid to try and test his mental and physical resilience, and constantly put him through emotional trials that would break anyone, much less a young boy. Gaara grew up only hearing that he was loved from one person, and even that person was someone sent by his father to kill him. This guy is completely unbearable and a true scum of the earth. Number 4. Atsuomi Ayanokoji, Classroom of the Elite.
この学校に入る決意をさせた。私が用意した道以上のものなど。
Coming off someone as despicable as Rasa, how can things get any worse? Meet Atsuomi Ayanokoji, the father to one of the most emotionless and logical characters in anime. Professor Ayanokoji is a horrible man. That's a fact that can't be beaten. In fact, Kiyotaka's whole stunt of running away from home was for the sole purpose of defying his father and getting away from the facility he runs. You see, Ayanokoji, just like every other deadbeat dad on this list, has no care for his son and only had him for a sick and twisted purpose: to be a lab rat in a facility developed to bring out an objectively perfect human being. His son, Kiyotaka, was put through multiple trials and college-level curriculum education before he even reached an age with double digits. That's right, while you were in kindergarten learning your ABCs and flinging snot rockets at your crush, Kiyotaka was solving advanced calculus problems and taking on chess grandmasters and professional martial artists in their own game. After Kiyotaka escaped, he still somehow couldn't escape his father, who tracked him down to his new school and threatened him with force to return to the White Room facility to continue being a lab rat. You know, just normal abusive dad stuff, no big deal.
今頃路頭に迷っているだろうな。 恩人が死んだというのに。
Number 3. Vinsmoke Judge, One Piece.
まだごねているのか。てめえ。
Vinsmoke Judge is the father of Sanji, one of the Straw Hat Pirates. Judge seems to have spent money on the terrible dad starter pack, being physically and emotionally abusive to Sanji, and takes the crown as the worst father in a series already littered with terrible fathers. Judge disowns his son while he's a child, blaming him for genetic modification that was unsuccessful. He views Sanji as a constant reminder of his late wife and purposefully allows his siblings to bully him. Judge also calls Sanji a failure and an utter waste of space and air. Just average words for a father to say to their son. Nothing weird here, right? He even goes as far as putting a mask over Sanji's face, hoping that no one will find out about how they were related. I could rant on and on about the terrible deeds of our Father of the Year, but I think it's been self-explanatory enough. Sanji logically runs away from the abusive lifestyle, but Judge crashes back into his life and attempts to use him as a pawn to ally with Big Mom. The man is selfish and arrogant, which seems to be a running trend on this list, and only cares about what he can gain from people around him. A horrible example as a father. Number 2. Grisha Yeager, Attack on Titan.
A man fettered to his dogs. Think of your slaughtered comrades.
Now, unlike every other character on this list, Grisha Yeager seemed to have good intentions, but the ends don't always justify the means. One of his biggest critiques is giving the Attack Titan to Eren while he was still young, essentially ensuring that his son will be forced to fight for his life and the life of others so early. Now, it could be argued that because of the ability of the Attack Titan to see the memories of future holders, he already knew Eren would get the Titan and was simply following its will. This would be ironic, considering that Eren's motivations stem from his desire to achieve freedom, so him being forced to get such a life-changing power from his father due to a malformed destiny is almost as poetic as it is morbid. Still, turning your son into a weapon and a flesh-eating monster for any reason is enough to land you on the bad dad list, regardless of your intentions and what unavoidable paths were guiding your decisions.
From here on out, nothing is going to go the way you'd hoped. Eren will get everything he wants.
Before we get to our top pick, let's have a quick look at some honorable mentions that didn't quite make the cut, but just need to be acknowledged. Number 1. Shou Tucker, Full Metal Alchemist.
この人はエドワード。
Shou Tucker is, without a doubt, one of the most fan-hated anime characters in history, and for good reason too. In his pursuit for an easy life and his scientific endeavors, he turned his daughter into horrible chimeras with not much long to live. He did this by combining his cute daughter, who loved him with all her heart, with the family dog. He did this horrible act simply to keep his license. It's made worse by the fact that when we were first introduced to the man, he's seen as a loving father and a struggling alchemist. To see the truth behind his facade is all the more gut-wrenching, especially since fan favorite Nina had to go through such a horrible fate to show the devolution of his character. His false pursuit of progress and his horrible deeds and utterly selfish character makes him not just a completely hated figure, but without a doubt, one of the worst fathers in anime.
2年前だね。
奥さんがいなくなったのは。
That's our list for you all. Just a rundown of some of the most horrible individuals in anime. No child deserves to go through what these kids went through at the hands of such horrible parents. Just a quick one before we cap it off for the day. If you went through a traumatic experience in your childhood involving your parents and never got to feel genuine parental affection, I just want you to know that you are loved and you are doing great in life wherever you are. So show us some love too by hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel. Have a great day, you beautiful person, and see you next time.